You might think of the Korean War as a brutal stalemate, a conflict frozen in the maps of Cold War textbooks, defined by massive offensives and geopolitical maneuvering. But, few people realize how often it wasn't bullets or artillery that killed soldiers. It was the cold, the frostbite, and the invisible march of disease through the trenches. In the bitter winter of 1950, temperatures regularly dropped below -20 degrees Celsius. Men would go to sleep with numb feet and wake up with frozen toes, sometimes losing them entirely. And, in the midst of this frozen hell, an unassuming bar of soap became one of the most vital survival tools soldiers carried. Before we dive into why, take a moment to hit subscribe, because this story is as much about the forgotten science of survival as it is about the history of war. Not all soap is created equal, and the military quickly learned this the hard way. Ordinary household soap could crack and crumble in sub-zero temperatures. Soldiers needed a bar that stayed solid but could be shaved into fine powder or melted into water without freezing. Soap factories in the United States and United Kingdom adjusted formulations for deployment in Korea, increasing glycerin content and experimenting with harder fats to maintain consistency in cold climates. This wasn't cosmetic, it was survival engineering. These seemingly minor adjustments had real consequences. Units with the correct soap composition suffered fewer skin and foot ailments, improving overall troop readiness. The Korean War exposed the limits of traditional military supply lines in extreme environments. The harsh winter revealed a truth military planners often ignore. Logistics determined survival as much as tactics. Soldiers sometimes waited weeks for resupply, and the inability to deliver fresh soap could decimate morale and health. Field hospitals improvised by melting down soap scraps to stretch supplies. The lesson was clear. What seems mundane can be critical when the environment is actively working against you. In survivalist terms, the Korean War was a masterclass in micro-resource management. Soap, water, and warmth became as strategic as ammunition. Beyond physiology, maintaining cleanliness provided mental stability. Soldiers described the simple act of washing as reclaiming agency in a world otherwise dictated by bullets, frost, and hunger. In letters and memoirs, some wrote that washing hands or face felt like a small rebellion against the chaos, a way to maintain identity and humanity. In freezing war zones where morale could decay faster than muscle, a bar of soap represented more than hygiene. It represented control. This psychological dimension was often overlooked by historians, but for survivalists, it's a key insight. Mental resilience and routine can be as vital as physical tools when conditions become extreme. The broader takeaway is clear. Survival depends on mastering small details often dismissed as trivial. Modern prepper guides frequently emphasize rations, fire starting, and shelter. But the Korean War reminds us that micro-hygiene and multi-use everyday items can be equally important in life or death scenarios. A bar of soap may seem inconsequential in the modern world, but in 1950, in frozen trenches of the Korean peninsula, it became a weapon against nature itself. This lesson translates directly to survivalist thinking. Today, small, seemingly mundane items often determine the difference between sustaining life and losing it. For historians, it's a reminder to look beyond combat statistics and headline battles. The Korean War was fought not only with tanks and rifles, but with knowledge, adaptability, and the humble tools soldiers carried in their pockets. A single bar of soap could shift outcomes at the individual level, saving soldiers who would have otherwise been casualties of the environment rather than enemy fire. The next time you think about survival in extreme conditions, whether in history, outdoors, or crisis situations, remember that your edge isn't always firepower or rations. Sometimes it's hygiene, resourcefulness, and understanding the hidden mechanics of survival. The Korean War offers a stark reminder that life in extreme conditions hinges on attention to overlooked details, and that even a simple bar of soap can become a lifeline. As historians and survivalists, we owe it to those frozen soldiers to study not only their battles, but the strategies they used to stay alive in conditions that were often as lethal as the war itself. Understanding these nuances enriches our appreciation of history and equips us with insights that can be applied long after the last shot has been fired. If you've found this story valuable, don't forget to subscribe to Iron Age Instincts, where we explore the forgotten science of survival, the hidden truths of history, and the lessons that remain relevant for anyone who wants to understand the edge between life and death in extreme circumstances.